Oh, who are the judges? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm just gonna put that down. Cool stuff. Is everyone good?
Hold on.
Yeah.
One second.
Oh, okay. My bad. Cool.
Meaning only makes sense with the frame of reference, isolates practical difference, makes actions appears. We mean calling the horrible makes correct from any substance, conceptual qualities, succeed, fix, there's a difference between a hard thing and soft thing, there. A broad test that opposed that a dynamic recurrence classes not when we false to say the dynamic was not over. A current circumstance which not actually arises by fact, but only arrangement. This consists practical deliberation is the method morally correct. That's 1. Ethics valid with their examination, past action, self-correction, morally correct, a deliberative way, weighing up argumentation principles, comparing them with the consequences of their experience, and pinch on the subject. Such responsiveness is part of what it means to make a moral decision, deliberative activity, positive effort to acquire habits of creative feel and free deliberation. The activity takes the form of experimentation, and the living conclusion is habits such as promoting pragmatic deliberation for the standard. Additionally, first, other ethical theories allow a minimalistic criteria as a financial framework of results by using this criteria to better inform our judgments. Lawful. Okay. Practice with our criteria not fixed. As we obtain evidence, we find it was the appropriate way, not we can use the new world. The moral world is complex and changeable. Criteria gives you the univocal answer about how we should behave in all circumstances. Environments change. Pragmatic criteria tools used to make informed judgments. Emergent criteria can become clear now. Habits in informing ways we react to our worlds. Theories can isolate more relevant features, practices, absorb these insights and shapes how we should evolutionarily respond. Second, the plurality of experiences for us which lasts from moral action as far as summarize to do it. Our moral choice made in response to problematic features, we found ourselves in a question not made to speak about arguments. Action grows out of attention and experience. And inquiry arises as an action that is concerned with things to do of a situation, demanding reflection, develops an experience, immediate experience situated with the narrative structure of experience. And our moral issues are problems we encounter as social means. The experience social reality provides the starting point, internal point for the setting problems and testing for solution. Third, our frame moves away from abstraction and understands knowledge changing in order to make social change and revision ideas well said. Philosophy deal with the problems of human knowledge is the fruit of our undertakings as we see the enrichment of our immediate experience through control of our action. We turn our attention to actual consequences of pursuing a future. Our brand developed shaped by experience. We take with the understanding of all facts of vital pragmatism. Our solitary capture practices and instruments social improvement and broadening the ground of individual social self-development and a disposition to the pride of our fellows. In fact, calculus deliberations proceed with all substantive, which means that we are concerned with the decision making, the deliberation of the evaluation of impact found underneath most things are two. A deliberation is not directly responsible for directing action, but also indirectly the effort to reinforce certain habits, tasks, and practices does not provide final solutions, but only the testing and communication of experience as superior of one idea can be answered contention. Many emerging nations do not have the resources to fund educational programs for children as humanity. 72 million children in primary education are not in school. Many emerging countries do not find appropriate financial resources necessary to create schools to provide children recruited to train teachers. Funds are not sufficient to allow countries to establish an educational system for all children. As trade goes to least access to education, they make up 54% of non-school population. Thus, advocate that a wealthy nation obligation to provide development assistance to our emerging nations to financing formal and non-formal education system that's redundant source of it. Effective education we seek to not merely increase numbers, but to make lasting improvement, learning equality, complex, there's no set blueprint on what to do. What is needed will be informed by the political economy and social education system. A formal and more formal education system will include the obvious inputs of teachers, classrooms, and materials, but also need to include systemic and specific needs, including many ethnic, locational, gender requirements, and advancing increase for the access of those with disabilities. A combination of formal and non-formal education used to facilitate rapid social change and encourage the socialization of people as black populations. Non-formal education, social product interacting with other domains of society serves to provide competencies, whether those competencies represent traditional roles or emerging representatives or new statuses or roles. Non-formal education emphasizes the emerging representative non-formal education as a service function, which the world technical socialization of people in revolution started with a way in which to have dramatically new value orientations or legitimate previous value churches roles declared illegitimate also who had them to begin to undergo formal and non-formal educative experiences to eradicate inadequacies performing with socialization. Non-formal education is a verge to facilitate rapid social change and breakthrough studies indicate that developmental aid in education actually does increase enrollment role in lifelong learning is also in Chami. This study investigated the effect of foreign education, lifelong learning in 52 African countries from 1986 to 2010. Eight variables of positive effects on primary school enrollment and lifelong learning. We have contributed to the literature by proposing a lifelong learning indicator, and if he avoids imperial learning while encouraging moral advocacy to have unique conditions the world around us for him. A formal school system that purpose is defined by a government or sponsored adult education program, not working toward external examination, but must usually find its purpose and if it's about increasing equity and greater quality, distribution of power and resources implies a closest quality of the status quo is unjust. Education will be unjust if society is moving in an equalitarian direction, then formal education will flourish that we correlate, and if in the political changes of the 70s, we can be the decade of NFU, case studies where flexibility is essential to successful outcome, increasing access to education provision, empower learners to understand if necessary, change social structure around them. Education must add to an individual's skills and understand the rules and structures of the wider social system. Top-down and bottom-up approaches came together effectively in the replan program underview. First, 1 hour, 3 minutes, years of drop we need to way to check in fees and CBS 1 hour, so short for go for the drop down. We get to the next 2 inch of animation, the 2 hour. If the show's 4 minutes, then I can dump on in front, you go for 30 seconds, substance, not only drop down yourselves, after start counter. Actually, skip. Actually, no, I'll read that. After start a car interpretation, 8.2 and as the option, go for the substance of the with glare on the cover. The argument force the 2 and go for the big one, then so RVS are key direct for responsive opportunity, no show an RVS, 8.3, hey, strategy people determine reading theory largely based on RVS, so 2 and RVS score the 1 year B point, 2 and RVS score the 2 hours and force the 2 year go for theory, regardless of 1 year strat. I see most reciprocal, I have more RVS, my first piece of the issue too. And excessive focus on discourse representation kill the liberal movements you seek to provide abstracting way for social change. Chapter 15. PC politics is exhausting, claim is victimhood, alien much American movements, pertinence, mute, people to operation, prove ill suited to the hopeful move across mass politics, liberalism, and season, there's so many ways to step on a landmine, so many attitudes get you cast out politics, democracy is getting people to agree with you, I'm not making them afraid to disagree. You can use no real statements about the state to highlight its failures, which is not a firm legitimacy and human intent. Making man's own state safe for doing it into draconian policing is a basic strategy for social movement. Taking such demands does not mean reaffirming its legitimacy. Demands remain from the outside of the political order and exceed the question of implementation of that specific measure. They question the legitimacy and the sovereignty of the state by highlighting inconsistency with the formal order, which guarantees certain quality of state practices which deny them state action first. State comes first. No state action sees the politicalism, which makes every impact worse. Macro self interactions. Driven casting micro actions like actual service which makes it the worst impact you can have. Revolutions every chapter occasion. Second, states inevitable every reaction. State eventually culminates in recreation. If you break all social organization happening in norms of the world, which takes the heuristic inevitable learn how to make a better interpretation. If the negative defense and alternative axis, the actor of the axis must be the same actor as the affirmative axis uses. To clarify, you must defend the USFG and acting FCB is a violation of business preemptive. This is reason for first is fiat abuse. Alternative, acts allows the one egg to object the ask plan away. This push normally defense the one sees impact claims. It means the negative does not have defense also. Yes, we know the marginalized body is being impressed by the state. The one sees attempts to combat that by offering the right to housing because it stops violence because what you feel the object of the app away the people away by saying that the work file state based issues is impossible. The app to generate offense on the issue because the egg ways away all issues with the fiat one. You don't have to defend the problems well with implementing alternative because you have perfect penalty that can because you qualitatively much better arguments on the ballot. On top of making the one see with this worse violation first is there's literally no way to argue for perfection. And institutional rules are necessary if there were no binding practice to debate this competition and there would be no way to debate it for a time constraints against and we follow because we didn't, we would keep over each other and not always move the point activity.
Is everyone good?
Yeah.
What is pragmatic deliberation?
Sure, so that's contextualizing the framework. It is a decision-making procedure that we use to live our lives.
What does that mean? What does it look like?
So when I engage in action and inquiry and thought, we would use the pragmatic deliberation model.
But what is that? What is that?
Sure. So personally, I actually wrote my comment on personal statement about this. So the argument is that pragmatism, when it applies to daily life, is that we would use the habits that we have created in the past and all the identities and experiences that define us. And when we, actually, the very good evidence on this issue is Sarah 1, and when it talks about how whenever we engage in inquiry, thought, action, we
okay, so it's just the process of testing ideas against each other until like the correct one comes about.
Well, so the argument is that we explain morality as a limit in calculus, string calculus.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Morality is like a limit and where it exists, but we're always approaching it, which means that the goodness is determined on the pursuit of it.
Sure. So what happens when moral norms contradict each other? You say we're always approaching, like there is no like point where we officially become morally good. You say we're always approaching it. So what about when like current actions that we take now contradict like other changes we made before, right? Like what happens? Sure, I'll use a like example. So, Nazism was a thing.
Yes.
We deliberated about it, thought it was fucked up,
Yeah.
stopped being a thing. Then the 21st century happening now, it's kind of coming back. If moral deliberation always takes us towards like not necessarily a telos, but towards constant improvement, why do bad ideologies come back?
That means that people have misused the process, right? Because the
So the
argument
process
is
can be misused.
what's up?
So the process can be misused.
Right. The argument is that the 1AC gives a frame of decision making that is a good thing, i.e., our model of decision making is the way that people.
Wait, but I thought you said you take the app away from abstraction. You just said it's a good thing, yes, but it fails in the real world. How is that not abstraction?
Wait. So your question is, tell me if I'm getting this wrong. Is that we regress in certain ways, which is
Yes.
like. Okay, yeah. So the argument is that the app solves this. The only reason why people do that is because either the deliberative process has failed or they have taken advantage of the deliberative process, which means that
how do we know whether the deliberative process is going to fail or not until after the consequences occurred?
the argument is that they want to see.
So let's say we're engaging in pragmatic deliberation, right? How do we know we're doing it correctly?
What's up?
How do we know we're doing it correctly?
The whole point is that it doesn't matter if we're doing it correctly. The whole point is that we're doing it, right?
But wait, what? You just said that it can lead to contradictory ends.
So I guess the argument was to be that deliberation is constitutive.
What does that mean?
Look, the existence of things. Oh, so think about it like this: just because dogs with 3 legs exist does not mean
Okay, I'm just gonna move on to substance. Okay, on the
right, because just because a certain thing is constitutive
okay,
doesn't mean that defects exist.
Yeah, on the
right?
shell. What is fiat abuse?
It means that you fiat things that are like make the 1AR strategy impossible. This is the argument that this is the fiat abuse standard indicates that the whole point of the MNC is that we like pass policy to create some sort of mindset shift to like reject things. You fiat that, which means that you fiat the object you have to weigh.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does the app take a stance on what direction permissibility, presumption, skepticism go? Will you concede that it goes negative?
Yeah.
It was worth a shot.
No, it wasn't.
What does it mean to learn something?
To take stimuli from the environment and incorporate them into habituation.
Okay. Why do we engage in deliberation? Like, why is it necessary? Why is it good for us? Why can't we ask? It's inescapable. Why?
Right, that is the warrant to the thermodynamics, which says that moral inquiry constitutively requires that we engage in like a deliberative process where.
Why? Why can't I just assert that like my notion of morality is good?
Yes.
Like in any chance, that's
that, that definitionally means that you have taken experiences, affective like feelings, whatever,
Sure.
whatever it may be.
Right.
You have asserted those things and determined that your notion of morality, or your version of reality is like the best.
Okay. Please prep 120 remaining.
Ooh, I don't have paper.
Well, no, I guess it just can't flow. So.
Do you have pens?
I do.
Yep.
Sending out.
Yeah.
Should be no surprises.
You make me laugh.
So it'll be K, the preemptive shell he reads on the app, and like in like just the entire underview, and then yeah, then the app proper, starting with pretty much.
What's the order?
I said first off, then the app underview, then the app framework.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, from this test, I stand up here.
Thanks.
Is everyone ready? In the postmodern era, colonialism is no longer simply the takeover of land and territory. It's a totalizing force that demands total control over all thinking, logic, and rationality. The affirmative through the rules of the Netherlands sells the model of Western education take over the world, manufacturing a human subject that demands the eradication of difference of opinion in opposition to the regime. Field check 15. Could end a terror decide more almost the entire population of the empire, saying the same way the populace is educated, submissive, and cowardly. Professors of the populace is informed by hundreds of thousands of survey landlords. There is almost no deviation from the official narrative of Western empire. As achieve almost absolute obedience and discipline. The people actually think they are free, voluntarily asking to get educated. And exchange for 10 pieces of paper, going to lose the ability to defend the desire of complex psychedelic bizarre on a failing day. Are keen to get into DPS in order to get thoroughly programmed and indoctrinated. Those coming from colonized countries are often the most eager. They hang their homes to the walls and respect for intellectual collaboration with the empire. Western must be readily available through schools and through entertainment. Empire knows how to manipulate human of being demanding independently cowardice and mediocrity promoted by bastards from propaganda. New men and women are shaped from intellectual clay, put on massive pedestals, and then stand taunts them are also usually loudly regurgitating cliches, carefully avoiding all relations and with the community about nothing. They are selfish, perfect on the surface. Countless Western men and women look ravishing. Robots are warm, fiercely placing beings. No robots passing those, but humans reconditioned. This argument indicates that the one who sees the attempt to create a model of humanity that is particular to one particular mode of thinking. But you say that pragmatic liberation leads that we all lead to a similar consensus on how morality operates. This is going to start on the Brock and Sober evidence series in the contention one where he talks about how there's formal and non-formal education. That your evidence indicates that you create social progression and social change, social advancement. But these narratives of advancement are always operated and conditioned by attempts to configure the body in terms of what it has to be in forms of why Western democracy demands it has to be in the way that it has to think, which means that even if you form, it's not a question of whether or not you promote progress, it's a question of what progress means. And this means that the role of the values of the better best enables the production of assemblage. Static models of education and the sun subjectivity fail to encompass the free-flowing nature of energy and close in our condition of prosperity with linear because assemblage and consciousness embraces the multiplicities and underpinning existence from the existence with a large ecological webbing, enabling departure from static beings in favor of the possibility of fluid becomings. Demo 07. The best way to assemble inorganic life is through the assemblages of a function of elements formed through a report that inter-experimental lines of the assemblages animated by coding and decoding non-personal language flow. There's a report between parts but no parts of the whole. There's no bias with it. Only the sphere of organic life has a strong ability to feeling more productive in the conjugal relation organic life aside from a single set of DNA pass but runs into puzzle with the orchid whose sexual organs are non-directed to appeal zones. Pieces of directed wasp from the wasp work assemblage life is directed to no longer linear method of working together among friends. Assemblage of the before do not go under the impression that simply is limited to human recognition methods are applicable as the socials and logic becoming assemblage do not die. They're not most likely bringing in the looking bringing in touch or excessive tronification, lack of connectivity, health is a concrete example that is struggling together. This means that anything indicates that the one to see is an isolation of the subject or a lockdown of what a subject has to be is offensive under the role of the bell and vote negative to embrace images of the queer suicide bomber. The only solution within the current frame of Western metaphysics is to destroy the liberal democratic desire to match all things with a certain model of intelligibility. What does a queer individual who wants to die for an anti-queer ideology look like? It doesn't make any sense. Only seeing the bodies in assemblage carries an openness to that which is incomprehensible. Poirot 07. The fact that we approach suicide bombing conscious of violence of colonial domination indicates the symbolic violence that shapes our understanding of what constitutes that legitimate violence. All body much together with the metal and touch of organic and inorganic death and self non other with something the ultimate form of resistance, self-preservation. Suicide bombing is what places games of life and death, the human body, assemblage and RNC they come together, flow, break apart, skim, so interface skim off each other and never see what bodies transform into what one's body becomes a suicide bomb, bodies in the midst of becoming the insect terrorism, the modality of expression is the full execution of mourning for self, the other symbolism of the bomb is contagion, infection, and non-meaning. Now go on to the app, specifically the shell he reads at the bottom of the one I see first. Counter-interpretation, the negative has the negative can defend reflection of the queer suicide bomber as an alternative. Results because I don't fiat anything. Rather, I say that the ballot should be signed as an affirmation of a particular mode of discourse. Results of abuse arguments. It doesn't mean that I fiat anything in post policy sense. It says that the ballot should affirm a particular methodology. Results of abuse because you can still make a methodology that you return to lose. You can read literally it actually increases your ground and your ability to interact with. You can read. Or that's why the theory is false in a theoretical sense. Also encourages and fosters more ground truth in that sense. You say that I weigh the fiat one, but insofar as I don't utilize fiat and set say the ballot has a particular purpose that meets your shall. You say institutional rules are necessary, but insofar as they meet your fairness violation, it's irrelevant. Standard one, the only standard of critical counter-interpretation is critical education. We're able to learn about the way that bodies are formulated and processed, as well as question the underlying assumptions. You have this key affirmative, key negative ground, because otherwise the affirmative will be able to passively affirm any kind of background model, which makes it impossible for me to engage in the affirmative, because you can identify a particular conception of being that excludes offense. Also key to education, because otherwise we can never contest particular norms. These institutional rules are necessary, but the endpoint of all those things is still to foster motivation. And education is a voter. Education is a voter. So it's the constitutive activity. Also, even if institutional rules are necessary, insofar as I prove no abuse, it means that education is still the telos, which means I outweigh. Also means that the role of the ballot is going to outweigh, because it's a question of what the ballot is supposed to do in the first place. Even if you create a world in which we're fair, it's a question of what that fairness is for. If it's fair, but the discourse that we have in round is bad, then there's a reason as to why we should prefer that. Now grant the RV. Now grant 2 on RVs on shelf read in the 1 and see multiple responses. First on his underview. First at the bottom of the underview, you say that notion of RVs distracts you, but the shell on the 1 area creates distraction because it makes it impossible. It forces me to lose arguments in the 1 area. You can also blow it up in the 1 area and the 2 area, which always puts your strategic advantage. You always collapse so particular issue means that it's necessary to turn you away from frivolous theory. You literally read the shell against every goddamn K that you go against. You never fucking go for it, which means it's time for payback. You should do second. So you say 2 on RVs, go over the 2 area because it forces you to go for theory, but you still have the capacity in the 1 area. If the abuse is real, then you should be able to win. You say too much for because you wore RVs my first speech. This is my first speech, but I'm wearing an RVI right now. I don't understand the purpose of this argument. It also means that RVs is necessary to chill abuse theory, to chill frivolous theory. That makes it impossible to engage the app proper. Now go to the framework at the top of the case first. The affirmative is on the framework. Just like points on the affirmative first. Your method is infinitely aggressive, because you know that's why we engage in modes of deliberation, because we don't necessarily understand why. We have to ask ourselves particular ideas. I can say that my idea or my perception of ethics is good and eternal, and refuse to listen to anyone else. There's no reason that's why this is bad. Insofar as the AC's process-based, you can't make particular claims. Second, the affirmative is able to contradict itself with the framework. You can use deliberation to achieve one end in one instance, but then another end in another instance, which means that due to difference in subjectivities, it becomes impossible for your project to have a telos or approach anywhere. Which you don't want either. A, you say that those individuals are unable to reconcile themselves, in which case there's constantly a model subject you're going towards which supercharges linked to the critique, or B, you don't do these things, in which case deliberation is pointless. You default to the RVA as a framing mechanism. Now the processes of deliberation cause mobilizing activism to educative democracy, which is complicit in the governmentality. This abstract radicality in the threat of popular fascism. For instance, individuals could deliberate and decide that certain things are good. We all deliberated once we thought that slavery was great. Seversky 10. Role understanding of activism uses power to repress activists that refuse along with formal politics. New acts are iris being appropriate, which is possible in the model that channel civic participation according to established concept. Activism seems to only guarantee the work of the representative democracy or absorb unable to find energy, the unfolding critical teaching revolution, philosophical running assemblies, acting with patriarchal powers, etc. Heterosexism first participating in representative democracy doesn't necessarily implicate a critical keep in mind recent examples of mass political support for state violence, collective party violence, and your understanding of existence presumes an a priori coherent subject that has a particular capacity to learn and operate within a discursive space in a particular way. The solution continue with the order to uphold predetermined designs of a structural mechanism subject. In act cycle balance, those who exceed that norm are not one. The production of objectivity opposes itself to any theory which consists of objectivity is given, which it's an operator status to bring to the effects of structure. The majority of this no effect unity, way no ground for maintaining this and another sort of objectivity in light of complex differs over the new possibilities of the future and optimism. Collective part optimism. This means the framework will always focus. We can never assume that 2 different subjects will interact in the same way. Also means these are all also linked to the critique.
Cool. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
Status.
Of the K, unfunded.
Cool. Can it be extrapolated as a floating pick in this line?
Nah.
Cool.
It's pretty mutually exclusive.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's talk about the.
Sure, we will.
Let's talk about the alternative. So, seemingly, okay. So, how does one engage in the queer suicide bomber methodology?
The judge should sign his ballot to affirm body as assemblage.
What does that mean?
Should affirm the idea that there's a thing that's a static conception of subjectivity, a static conception of learning, what it means to be someone capable of learning, what it means to engage in normal discourse, what it means to engage in social
Actually,
progression.
yeah, let's talk about the links of
Sure.
the. So actually, if you're not winning the links to the critique, how is the alternative functionally like? Actually, no. That's not. Let's talk about the check 15 evidence.
Sure.
So what is the link?
Yeah, so this argument is that attempts to cultivate education when it's done by Western powers always aims toward a mode of progression, i.e. when we educate people, the goal is to get them to be educated people. This creates a model of Western...
Where do we force people to like take the teaching that we offer?
Well, dude, even if you offer them, my arguments would indicate that it's not like just offering, it's literally become educated or become poor in their communities.
How do you get to determine the algorithms?
What? I'm not saying that I'm determining what the app role is. This is how the app necessarily functions, dude. If you're going to go for people don't have to engage in the affirmative, I'd question why you have solvency.
Okay, let's talk about the stuff you read on case. So what are the arguments for why you get 2 RBOs?
Yeah, the first is that it's to prevent, it's to prevent the proliferation of theories of strategic check that overskews the 1NC. I lied about that. And then the first is that it's key to reciprocity because it determines the way that we both get access to the highest layer of the debate. Also, I warranted RBIs in my first speech, just like you said I should, I guess. Then the visa point was the RBI screw over the 2AR. My argument is that reading a shell without an RBI in the 1AC screws over the 1N, which makes the 1AR and the 2AR infinitely easier. Network screws you have to... What?
Why does it screw the 1N?
Because I have to answer the shell or I instantly lose.
Why?
Forces a time suck. You don't have to go for it.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So let's talk about the links to this week. These are all post feelings by the affirmatives, like advocacy.
No, none of them are post-fiat based. They're all links to the framework.
The VCHAC 15 evidence is about.
Oh no, that's post-fiat. Sorry, the stuff I wrote on the AF is referring to.
Okay, actually, yeah. Let's talk about the terms you wrote on AF. So, how does the Swirsky evidence indicate that we quell radicality?
Yeah, so this argument is that when people, and if you don't assess the way that Western metaphysics, for instance, has imposed understanding on a certain body, you just let them engage in discourse. This leads to the rise of this could potentially lead to the rise of popular fascism, where everyone agrees that a particular norm is ethical, but in reality it's not ethical at all. Examples would be like the Holocaust or slavery. People engage in pragmatic deliberation, decided that was okay. Probably means your methodology is flawed.
Cool. Check it out. So words they are not evidence.
Sorry?
Let's see what say all are not evidence.
I'm sorry, you're speaking.
Actually, can you just explain to me the 2 arguments you made on the framework to it? Contradiction and infinitely regressive.
Yeah, the first one is that you could eventually lead to contradictory conceptions using pragmatic deliberation, which proves that the method doesn't work. Then it's infinitely regressive. We can ask ourselves why multiple individuals ought to engage in pragmatic deliberation, and the process can't be applied to itself. And then the 2 cards.
Is any of you want to see about the representation of the affirmative?
I mean, like your discourse and round.
Yeah.
You already have it.
Nah,
Or
it's more
rather than
nah, it's more like the process of the app.
Probable, but
Okay.
just looking at it later.
Alright. Underview the AF is.
I mean, for 140 left.
Mm-hmm. I actually have myself for 141. Yes. AR is sent. Oh, actually hit reply. Give me 1 second. Cool. Sent.
Oh, did you say the room
Underview the F, case and critique. Is everyone good?
Wait, I'm sorry. What are you saying again?
Well, I read the A, C, K.
Yep.
Cool.
Extend the interpretation that the negatives use the same same actors they want to see. Also extend the standard which says that they cause beyond abuse. A point is that the whole point of the app is that we pass a plan which leads to a mindset shift, but they just feel the object of the app away, which means there's no way for us to read also the solve C deficits. B point they feel the object of the app away, the people, which means that we cannot resolve C deficits to our own people. The C point is that we cannot weigh case against her. None of these opposite pieces of fairness are ever mitigated, which means we get access to the offense. Also, crossed by the institutional rules voted that we read in the last speech. They're only responsive in the last speech that they meet, but you don't even meet the text of the interpretation because you still defend an alternative advocacy. It does not make sense. You responded to a word in a standard. Great, you don't meet the interpretation. It means that you still blink. The alternative is not the interpretation text is about the interpretation text is not about fiat. Now, counter on the counter standard. They say critical education, but education, but this isn't relevant. The argument, if we win the field center, that turns the critical education arguments. You not create a dialogue, you just create a monologue because you exclude us from the debate. And now they say that we get more ground with the arguments that fiat said that is the object fiat. If you were an object fiat, that turns the argument because we get absolutely no ground. Now they say education is a voter, but A point is that institutional rules outweigh because it means that you structurally position us away from education. The B point is that read a physics education, which we read a physics textbook if you only care about education, which means that education is not a voter. The C point is that fairness always in questions of verifiability is impossible to quantify education loss, but it is possible to quantify abuse. The B point is that the B point is that actually it's also verifiable because we come to debate, tournaments to debate and win. Also, cross-apply dropped the debater for 1 AR shells, and additionally competing interpretation because of recent arbitrarily we debated what the right line is, or is just I wish to collapse with competing interpretations. Also, they say no RV. They say RVI, but their argument is that it's a question of accountability. But the argument is that this was just chill our ability to read theory in the first place, which outweighs because it's a question of if theory does not exist as theory does not exist as an ability to recourse, that would outweigh because we know it would never check abuse. Now, affirmative, C. Extend the lawful evidence which indicates that then Pierce meaning only makes sense in the conscious of difference. It makes no action makes sense. There one moral inquiries a little bit where we experience an argument which culminates in moral habit that makes no practical difference. Action always a point on firm consensus in reality, which means there are alternative restaurant practices deliberation to long term absolutely to iteration principles constitutive action still lawful criteria can never be fixed or completed as well once work may not work as environment solution change practices existing criteria core business tools of the deliberation justifies a permutation to the after the method of the alternative. We can incorporate the alternative in the pragmatic methods of relevant criteria extend about practices of performance the one secret education skills testing rules also justifies permutation to the affirmative then the negative is education. The prior question for social change and empirical improvement, every society ever also extended forward many fees defined by self outside of any influence empirically has increased access to education, which takes out the terms they ran in the last speech because it means that the what it sees empirically led to change now. They read a few case terms, but the argument is that off the first evidence is that just because a dog with three legs exists does not mean that it's not a constituent for dogs that have 4 legs, which means that deliberative is still a constituent, which takes out your first favorite response because it's infinite regression. Also means that what is irrelevant because it means that we would deliberate to come to the best moral conclusion, and everyone is encouraged in their difference. Not only critique, not only first, not only we just find education and initiatives, we don't dictate what is learned. And second, even if we link it, A point is good to come in contact with those viewpoints. We understand in classrooms with bad teachers, but reject the ideas of it. B point, the double bond. Your one uses white academy to speak on colonial issues. The presence of education itself is not bad. What happens? Education is good. Either A point, we can challenge them and take them and use them, or B point, the one is worthless, which is error after risk of offense. The alternative is the AFA. There's no distinction. We can't tell people who need to put the food on the table they can't rely on capitalism, which justifies permutation. The affirmative, then the alternative to authentically choose alternative. Otherwise, just pathological imperialism. The permutation do both formal education is bad in every instance as it offers structural learning materials and teaches, but mediated by NFP, which is actively engaged in self-defined learning to create social change, meaning doing both is key, and the empirics of the affirmative solvency outweigh because it's a question of verifiability, which is the affective service of the alternative does not make sense. They always try to extend this contradiction argument in the last speech with the argument that it's dependent on social context. Yes, certain social context justify bad things, but if we deliberately create a better norm, so we always that means we always solve. Now, also the no link argument is extremely specific here because it means that when he sees a question of everybody incorporating their different ideologies into deliberation, which is why they cannot spin arguments for why they extend practice a different way. Also, practice permutation to the alternative in every other instance. The pragmatic method is a key to active learning.
I have 140 left, right?
Yep.
What was your response to the neg RBI stuff?
What's up?
What was your response to the neg RBI
It's
stuff?
theory is a question of recourse.
What does that mean?
It means that the RBI would chill the ability to read theory because
Okay,
that's
that's
the
fine.
main argument.
What were your responses to the critical education standard?
There's a few. First off, is if you had to use turns this,
Okay.
then means that critical education is relevant as fairness arguments constrain this. The second argument is that Fairness obviously a question of questions of verifiability.
Sure.
Also, education of the voter.
Sure.
As we just read the textbook. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's all you read, right?
Yes.
Okay. What is the distinction between institutional rules and fairness? Like, institutional rules is just a justification for why fairness is.
Yes. Or structural fairness, rather.
Wait, what is that? What's the distinction?
That means you can't be like, oh no, theory is hoops. People don't get access to it.
Wait, no. Like, what does that mean? Like, what is it? What is the distinction?
All right.
If I have offense thinking back to fairness, does it count or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. As long as you're not like, theory is genocidal. Or
Oh, that. Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone good? Oh wait, I'm not set up yet. Order's gonna be the shell that was written in the 1 and 2. Just the shell.
Are you starting maybe counter?
I'll be starting the RBI debate. Is everyone good? Ned gets RVI. The only response you made was that it causes a chilling effect that prevents one here from reading theory. But I made a preemptive this in the last speech. I said that yes, I prevent you from reading. I only prevent you from reading frivolous theory because if the abuse is legitimate, you're incentivized to go in for it because it's more likely for you to win. That is a completely conceited preemptive this argument. He indicates that that chilling happens. But I'm saying good. It's good to chill frivolous theory because there's always a time skew against the negative when you read shells in the 1A or in the 1AC, which forced me to go for them inside my speech. We leave the left offense to extend the 2N, but you don't have to go for the offense that you went off on the shell, which means that it's a mutually understandable layer. That was my response. That was my lecture to the ace of 102 on RVIs. I indicate that you strat skew me even harder because you forced me to spend time answering a layer that's understandable that you can literally always want to continue any speech. You've also conceded my lecture to the reciprocity argument. You said that you want RVIs in my first speech, in your first speech, so I should be logic too, which means that insofar as you didn't respond to any of the warrants for why I get an RVI, that means that you can grant 100% truth. I know you said there are 2 in RVI score over the 2AR because it forced you to go for theory, but for one possible the reason just the answer to the preemptive the chilling effect argument where I said that this is fine because there's no problem you going for 2AR theory if you are winning your abuse. The purpose of the purpose of granting RBIs to deter you from reading frivolous shit, which is what you do. Which means that the neg definitively gets an RBI 1 because you can see too many responses, and 2, a lot of the responses that I made straight turn to justifications for there's no RBI. Now go to my counter interpretation first. Except my counter-interpretation of the negative independent reflection of the queer suicide bomber. You make a whole response to your first that this is not mutually exclusive with your interpretation. Your interpretation says that it's not an issue whether or not it's mutually exclusive with the interpretation. My argument is that my interpretation solves 100% of your offense with net benefits. That is how theory operates, which means even if I'm the argument was on a no violation, it's a question of which norm is better. Now on your fiat abuse standard, you can see multiple responses. First, so that you can it's not fiat abuse because you can read multiple warrants as to why there isn't fiat. Okay, first of all, you can see that this alternative is not fiat, which means that there is no fiat abuse, which means I don't get access to 100% solvency. You can see 2 warrants for this ace point. You can see that you were able to make solvency deficits in the length term. You can read 4 false, you can read Deleuze false, and you can which increases the total amount of ground and capacity you have to answer the argument. You've also conceded that what was the other one? You've also conceded that. Yeah, you also can see terminal defense standard, which indicates that, insofar as I don't fiat anything, I utilize the balancer to make a particular epistemological sense. You can still make every single argument against you. Take the ground net better. Now, you also see the attempt that I fiat the object of the apparatus. Not an issue of fiating anything. It's a particular stance, which always makes it easier for you to respond to things. That is the only offensive argument on the entire shell. Is this fiat abuse shit, which means insofar as I don't fiat anything, it means it's a reason why there's no abuse under my counter-interpretation. But whether my counter-interpretation comes first, then it's a reason why it's a better known for debate. Now, go on to the weighing between standard education and voter debate. You said a bunch of arguments for why education on the voter, why education doesn't matter, but you conceded an internal link to fairness within my counter-interpretation. You conceded that critical education links to fairness because otherwise you'd be able to make any number of epistemological claims or any number of assumptions that I would never be able to criticize or contest because you could make a particular notion of this, assume particular notion of the subject, particular notion of what identity is like, and I would never be able to contest those because I can never read alternative imagining of those things. You can see that this key to fairness, which always has the potential to cause next to you. You also concede that that K offense arguments or arguments about arguments about your assumptions are necessary after down because I should be able to articulate length. You literally throw off 1/5 of my offense, even especially if you're debating someone who has a preference for the KU. Literally block off one of their most accessible, one of their most practiced strategies, which is net worse for fairness. These are arguments that he has completely conceded, which means even when the institutional rules are good, even when the fairness is good, you have conceded an internal link to fairness that outweighs. Now go on to the drop the debate argument. I can see drop the debater, but insofar as I get an RV, it's a reciprocal drop the debater, because you should vote him down. If I win any risk of offense on T, insofar as he's not winning, that I get an RV, it's conceded. Too many responses now. Yeah, basically. Yeah, he extends the fiat. He extends the fiat standard, but he doesn't make any particular arguments against the any particular response to my actual responses. Which means that it's a reason why you should grant me a 100% truth value. You said that I'm able to pass things that you aren't able to solve C deficits, and I just waved the magic fiat one. But you can cross my responses from the last speech that one completely conceded, which is that you are able to make solve C deficits. You are able to make turns against the methodology, which is net better because I don't fiat anything. Wow, I have like a minute 50 left. But like I think that's a really simple neg ballot. He concedes way too many reasons for the neg gets an RBI. He concedes that there is fairness offense under my counter interpretation. Completely conceded. He concedes that fairness is a vote. We'll actually extend that. He extends it against education. Sure, I'll concede that. I'll concede institutional rules. I'll concede fairness. You conceded internal link to fairness, which means insofar as which means I get the RBI, I definitely have offense linking back to fairness. And there's way too much defense on the fiat abuse standard for him to have any hope of winning off of this. I prove that there is no fiat abuse under my counter interpretation. I prove that he has even more ground and even more accessibility to the arguments that I read, which beats back the fiat abuse argument and links into all of his standards. It's really simple. You negate 3 on the shell here.
I have 141. Starting now. Cool. So it'll be an overview, then the 1AC interpretation, then their interpretation. Is everyone ready? Cool.
Overview. Voter, in terms of voter weighing, fairness always outweighs because it's a question of verifiability. This is a conceded argument in the last speech was even if they're winning education offense, that means that fairness offense outweighs because it's a question of verifiability. We come to debate tournaments to compete and win, which means that institutional rules are a key constraint on this. Now, they say they concede this, which means that the only fairness offense again in the last speech is critical education link term, which means that all we need to do is win weighing back to why our critical, why the fiat abuse standard outweighs the critical education standard is GG. They make no weighing arguments in the last speech, but now let's go for another, like this overview argument. Use spirited interpretation when evaluating theories, whether the IMA solves back the offensive theory shall prefer first to checking views for people who are incentivized to make badly be means ensure no debate on the actual offensive shall always because even if laws in the real world have to be redefined in order to apply to specific situations. Second, your IMA does not solve the abuse, does only lexically make sense, which means the abuse is still present always because we set up a specific right line. If you read a reason, you solve the note infer the rules of contingent about the behaviors they sanction, which means you cannot do where people only care about semantics. And now, original interpretation. extend the field of your standard. A point is that they feel the object of the half away, but this is they make a few responses here, and they extend a few responses in the last speech. They just say that they just make the generic response about how we get a lot of responses, but that does not solve the weighing ground standard that we made. The C point that we extend in the last speech is that we do not get to weigh the case against the criticism. A few implications here, and it outweighs the critical education standard. A point is that a question of 6 minutes of the 1AC being completely irrelevant because you completely preclude a layering level of the 1AC strategy, and which means that our strategy definitely always. The B point is that you're always ahead on that because you're incentivized to pick the most exclusive layer, and it's always irreciprocal because there's no reciprocity in terms of layering. You're always ahead, which means your offense always precludes. Which is a question of the weighing ground standard, which definitely those are two arguments for why the weighing ground argument that we extended in the last speech, i.e. the C point outweighs the critical education standard, which means that underneath fairness we get offense. We'll continue to get the RBAs, but we'll continue to get the RBAs. Now the only offense, the only big place I can lose on the third debate is that the after is like the negative is not beyond anything, but the spirit of the interpretation resolves that, because it means that even if you're not beyond anything, means that you still do not solve the abuse of the shell, because I still do not get to weigh case against the shell. Additionally, the field of use standard is still relevant because it means that you feel the object of the app away. You do not ever respond to the internal warrant of that. You just say that we get different types of ground. But it's of course we cannot weigh case against that. But these means that all the responses I would read would be completely new in the 1AR, i.e. new poor bad, new Deleuze bad, which is always screws us because you're always ahead on the debate. You're also able to frontline these arguments, which means that you always be ahead substantively. But it means that the 1AC offense always outweighs because it's a structural skew. 6 minutes of the 1AC are gone, whereas at best, the 1NC interpretation gets us some sort of substantive advantage on the fairness debate, but insofar as that the weighing ground standard makes a structural claim, it means it outweighs. Yeah.
Someone from Dallas here? This is all yours.
No. Someone help me with this, please.
And the points too.
Wow, this is so dope.
Congratulations, Bill.